Hollowbody is a third-person psychological horror game where you play as Mika, who while searching for a missing partner ends up in a car crash in the ruins of an English city. The game is available on Steam. Atmosphere. The game's atmosphere is dense. A constant heavy ambiance fills the air, with the game's soundtrack being not much more than a howling, near unending wind that breaches the destroyed, colourless realm that is the exclusion zone. Everything is long dead and so bleak and empty that it feels like the soul of the very environment has been sucked out of it. There's long dead corpses frozen in time, faded wallpaper, and the buildings have collapsed in on themselves, letting the rain pour in.
Oh, God.
The atmosphere is of this deep sadness and isolation. You shouldn't be here. Nobody should be here. It's like a tomb for those who couldn't leave in time, and the story does a decent job of painting how bleak things were before this cursed land sat left to the elements for 20 years.
I guess I'll see you after. Yeah. I hope so. Drink up.
But despite the game not being that long, what hurts the atmosphere the most is how little it changes, being pretty much the same throughout the entire game. All of the environments feel identical and don't differ visually much either, with the city streets, the graveyard, and the sewer all feeling the same as the tower block at the start of the game. The atmosphere is good, but eventually it just becomes depressing and tiring since it's just so lifeless. The game also has a lot of large areas with very little in them, and some puzzles require a great deal of backtracking, forcing you through the same dead areas over and over. The atmosphere at its core is very good, but it really needed more variety to be great. That's one Harry Mason. Scares. Besides some minor jump scares that can be startling, there's very little in the game to find frightening. The game's enemies are initially interesting in design, and the first encounters with them can be intimidating, but they're mainly just creepy obstacles. They pose too little of a threat for the number of weapons and ammunition you can acquire if you decide to even fight them, since they can be easily outmaneuvered when you're not trapped in a room with them. By the late game, they're more of an annoyance than a threat, with them clogging up corridors to slow you down. Hollowbody has one or two unique moments of something strange appearing briefly to disappear and never be acknowledged, and these were easily the best part of the game's attempt at scaring the player, which would have been great for the psychological elements if they were used more, instead of just once or twice. Ultimately, the game leaned far harder into the atmosphere, and the game's scares really weren't attempted much at all. That's still one Harry Mason. Sound design. A discordant jumble of tones makes the sewer section feel like sanity is breaking down. Muffled screams and wailing cries come together into a nauseating dirge. Several pieces of the tower block have a shuddering synth that sounds like a door being dragged across the floor. But the large majority of the game is that howling synthetic wind, a monotonous drone that's also surprisingly loud, being very noticeable over the sound effects, making the game feel empty when it's gone. The ambiance is filled with the rain sounds and very impressive thunder, adding more to the sadness. The sound effects themselves are fairly good, the gun noises are about all there is that cuts above the game's music, and they sound really satisfying. The beeping of various menus and the item pickup sounds are very reminiscent of Silent Hill, the game's obvious inspiration.
Oh, great. It's you.
Murderer. You have blood on your hands.
Look, I don't know what those things were.
Murderer.
Can you stop saying that? Fuck.
The voice acting is alright, some of Mika's lines are a bit wooden with the delivery feeling a bit lifeless, though some of the flashbacks are done very well and the phone call entity sounds pretty great. The flashbacks themselves are soaked again in the game's music, like they're struggling to be heard.
You've not touched your dinner.
I'm not hungry.
Did you guys eat after work?
I'm not hungry.
The game's reverb is used really well, with many environments feeling spacious and dark, and the directional audio was functional without a flaw. That's 2 Harry Masons. Gore. There's only one instance of Gore that's memorable, and it's a standout moment in the game with an open heart cavity on display. The game didn't really need any gore, and if it wasn't for the sort of logic puzzles you expect in psychological horror, it's arguable it didn't really need this either. That's 3 Harry Masons. Story. In the distant future, a battered West England has been left to decay after years of hardship and abandonment, and Sasha, who recently joined a research team operating in the remains, goes missing. Her partner Mika goes into the exclusion zone to find her when a hovercar crashes, leaving her stranded in the ruins of West England. The game splits its storytelling into the flashbacks, which are little snippets of important moments and personal tales, as told by memories accessed through Mika's radio. They're heartfelt and depressing glimpses into people's lives, and the other half being notes and letters which explain larger action going on by the corporations and private security contractors that dealt with the situation at the time. The story is incredibly depressing no matter what angle you look at it, with the general public being thrown under the bus so large pharmaceutical companies and other entities could take advantage of the situation, with Sasha and Mika's issues feeling very small at the end of the day. The game's ending is just as depressing as the main story, with it all becoming very obvious that there's no light at the end of the tunnel. The game's story is good, but it is difficult to enjoy being so tremendously bleak, making the final score 4 out of 5 Harry Masons. I didn't really end up enjoying Hollowbody as much as I thought I would. The atmosphere is great and it's functionally fine, but it felt like a bit of a drag with some of the optional puzzles making no sense and being no fun to solve, but at least they were optional, as well as the overwhelming bleakness of the story just being tiring by the end. Again, I'd like to remind you the whole thing is down to my opinion in horror games, and if you don't share this opinion, then that's cool, I get it. I'd like to point out that whilst I didn't solve the optional puzzles, I didn't let this bother me and advise you don't either. There will always be more horror reviews in the pipeline, and thanks for watching. And always go check out Bumps in the middle of the night. Peace.